Christ. This is Bishop Andy C. Lewter, and I'm coming to you on the behalf of the weekly Clergy Roundtable. I'm so delighted to have both this opportunity and this privilege of coming and sharing with you what I know is going to be an impactful conversation. As you can see, I am joined by several clerics from around the country, and I'm anxious for them to come and to greet you by saying hello. Let's start with my neighbor right here on Great Neck Road.
Good morning, everybody. Blessing and peace. I am Bishop Walter Willie, the pastor, the founder of the Prayer Tabernacle Church of God in Christ, right here, Great Neck Road, Amityville, New York.
Thank you, sir. From there, we're going to go to the east end of Long Island. God bless you, overseer.
God bless you, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am so glad to be here. I'm Overseer Diane Seaman, pastor of Good Samaritan Ministries in Port Jeff and Center Reach, and it's a beautiful day in the kingdom. Beautiful day. I'm so glad to be here.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. From there, we're going to what we like to call the fresh face and voice of Westchester.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pastor Norman Scott, New Hope Institutional Baptist Church, Tarrytown, New York. Grace and peace.
Grace and peace to you, sir. And now we're going to the Washington, D.C. area.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Stephanie Stratford, pastor of Ecclesia International, and we are headquartered in Brentwood, Maryland. I'm excited about today's conversation.
God bless you. Thank you, Doctor, so much for being here. Let's go to Waterloo, Ohio, not Ohio, Iowa. Oh, my goodness. I just have the Big Ten on my mind. I have the Big Ten on my mind.
Good morning. I greet you in divine love. I'm Bishop Helen Singster from Koinonia Ministry, Full Gospel Baptist Church in Waterloo, Iowa, where people are connected to God and connected to each other. I am so happy to be with my colleagues today. Thank you.
Happy to have you, Bishop. And rounding out the round table this morning is my good friend and colleague right here in Central Ohio. Oh, my goodness. Central New York. Why is Ohio so on my mind today? God bless you, Overseer.
Like Georgia's on my mind, huh?
Good morning, everybody. Grace and peace. I am Overseer Regina Ravenel Carr. I'm the senior pastor of Christian Uprise through Edification Discipleship Ministry, where we pour into the hearts of the people of God to equip and empower you to be able to pour into the hearts of others.
Amen. And friends, I am Bishop Andy C. Lewter of the Hollywood Full Gospel Baptist Cathedral of Amityville, New York, and the Queen's Ministry of New York City. I'm so delighted to have both privilege and opportunity to come and share with you along with these great clerics from around the country. Well, beloved, at the time of this recording, we are literally less than a week from the election of the 47th president of these United States. This has been, might I say, a vicious campaign. It has featured in criminal indictments. It has featured racist comments. It has featured a taunt and contentious race for this office of president. And one of the things that has become extraordinarily frustrating for me, and I'm sure for you, the panelists as well, is after everything that has happened in this last year, and when we compare the behavior of the candidates with what would have happened to other candidates if they had performed the same way, I can only imagine that if some of the things that we have seen in terms of behavior and comments had been done by Barack Obama, it would have been a totally different outcome, and the reaction would have been altogether different. And so today, beloved, we want to talk about why is the race so close? Why is the race so close? And I have assembled some material that I want to share with you, beloved. And then I'm going to ask you to comment on the other side. So I want to begin, and I began my commentary today by comparing the antics that we are seeing now and today with that of former President Barack Obama. If he had done or said even 1/10 of what has been said these last several weeks, he literally would have been crucified on the cross. And so I have found it very, very interesting to gather some of the comments of President Barack Obama. And I'm going to give you about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes of his review and his perspective on what's going on. And then we'll talk about it, beloved, on the other side.
A second.
We can't hear it.
So the man holds
Hold on.
this big rally at Madison Square Garden.
Give me a second. I should have known that. Desktop audio. Yep. Put my glasses back on.
A second.
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
So the man holds this big rally at Madison Square Garden. And the warm-up speakers were saying the most, we're trotting out and peddling the most racist, sexist, bigoted stereotypes. One guy called Puerto Rico, quote, an island of garbage. Now, these are fellow citizens he's talking about. Here in Philadelphia, they are your neighbors. They are your friends. They are your co-workers. Their kids go to school with your kids. These are Americans. They're people. And that is the reason why this election should not be close. It should be clear. Here's a good rule. If somebody does not respect you, if somebody does not see you as fellow citizens with equal claims to opportunity, to the pursuit of happiness, to the American dream, you should not vote for them.
I want to buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house.
Beloved,
No.
so let me tell you why this is so personally painful for me. And then I'm anxious to have all of you weigh in on this. And I have a few other comments that I want to share to help fuel and ignite our discussion today. As many of you know, I have an extraordinary passion and love for my grandsons, Alexander the Great and Ivan the Great. The younger of the two, Ivan the Great, his mother is a Puerto Rican. He is Afro-Hispanic. And so when I heard the comments that I did over the weekend, it was personally painful to me because this was not remote. This was not distant for me. He's talking about my family. He's talking about my grandson. My grandson's mother is Puerto Rican, which makes him Puerto Rican, which means that these comments are aimed at him, which means it is aimed at me. So I am anxious to have all of you weigh in on this because Puerto Rico is not a member of the Caribbean. It is not a part of South America. It's not part of Europe or Africa. It is a U.S. territory. And the people who live on the island of Puerto Rico are citizens of the United States. Why? And I'll begin with you, Bishop Willie. Why is this race so close when we see antics and behavior like what we're seeing from the GOP?
As the kids call it, it's a doggy fight that's going on right now. And what's happening, we are experiencing firsthand when someone is very dangerous, afraid, and do anything to win an election. This is a time that the person really is scared. And when you run scared, do anything. And that's what's going on right now. And because of our people are being, I said before, the Bible said that my people perish for the lack of knowledge. That's education, information. Many of our people are being deceived. Jesus said that don't let nobody deceive you. And people are being deceived by the antics of the government, the media. They're being misled. They don't see the handwriting on the wall. And that's why it's so dangerous. And, you know, it hurts all of us what's going on here in America. But guess what? We've been here before. We've been here. We understand how they play dirty games. But we got to tell our young people, we got to remind them and tell them, don't be so caught up in the hype. Don't believe everything you see or hear what's going on. So it's going to be a tight election because of the misrepresentation, the misunderstanding, the miseducation of our people not paying attention to what's going on at this critical hour we are in right now.
Wow, that's rich. That's rich. Thank you for that. Let's go out to the east end of Long Island. Overseer, what were you hearing in the comments that Barack Obama was sharing with us?
What I was hearing was that he was trying to make certain that we understood where Trump was coming from and a direction that we ought to go. Generally, you know, I'm listening to Bishop Willie as well. We're in a time frame where people simply do not listen to anything or anybody. And it reminds me so much of Nero in the Bible. He would rather burn down everything than not to have his way, and then stand there and laugh, not even understanding that he made his own death even more possible. I'm not threatening him. I'm just saying when there's nothing left, people get desperate, and desperate people destroy themselves. They don't even realize they destroy themselves. And I understand what we're doing, but we're in an age, you know, I heard you when you talked about your grandsons. My family is a catch-22. My grandson's partner is Colombian. One was Puerto Rican. It's mixed. It's a mixed bag, but we're humans. And when we understand that we're all human, no matter what we are, and we do what we're supposed to do, we might get a little bit further. We might get a lot further. Barack Obama is trying in his elegant way to teach people, to get them to understand critical things in very little bit of time, what is being said and how to digest what's being said, because we're not getting it. People are not getting it. They're not listening. They're not hearing. Everybody's talking about what everybody's talking about. When they finish the conversation, it's going to be over. And we don't want it to be over for real. I don't know how we're going to combat it. I don't know, but Barack Obama, certainly past President Obama, is trying his best to make it clear. I give him all the credit in the world for standing up with Kamala. All of the past presidents that are standing to try and make it a better place.
Wow. Yeah.
Start talking about Puerto Ricans. We're talking about my brother-in-law. We're talking about my granddaughter-in-law. We're talking about a whole lot of people.
Sure.
The whole border is covered. But the bottom line is, if they did what they were supposed to do in the first place, instead of all this hatred, that would have been covered as well. And it's late to make them understand that in some ways, but we just pray, like Carlton Pearson used to say, I wish somebody's soul would catch on fire.
Dr. Stratford, weigh in on this. You're right there in Washington, D.C. You're at ground zero where all of this is taking place. if you had opportunity to even catch the excerpts of what some of those lead up speakers were saying at Madison Square Garden, how did it cause you to feel?
It incites invokes anger in me, and I try to be as knowledgeable as possible, but stay away from the toxicity of the situation. As I can be somewhat of a conspiracy theorist, and I really don't trust any of the news outlets because I believe they tell us what they want us to hear. The race may or may not be as close as it is. But as it was said, fear and the bottom line of winning will cause people to do anything. I, I believe that what we are seeing now is the truth and reality of this country. Many of us are comfortable. We're comfortable because we have things, and so we've been lulled to sleep in terms of what is really going on. Oh, we can sit in the restaurants and we can use the bathrooms and we can drink out of the water fountains and we can shop and spend all of our money and no one attacks us in most places. But strange fruit is still growing on trees in the
Yes,
United
Lord.
States.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think that we're looking at the reality that there is not liberty and justice for all, and we are experiencing the true heart of America. And some candidates are uh, able to get away with what they're doing because it's a reflection of how
Mm-hmm.
this nation really feels.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I may, I
Sure.
come in Washington, D.C., especially back in the 70s and a little into the 80s, we were known as Chocolate City
That's right.
and we ruled. But if you begin to travel, as you begin to travel, you realize that the same comfort is not afforded to our people in other spaces. And so, just as you mentioned, Bishop, being in this area, I am really appalled at what is being allowed to happen all over the country.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's jump out to Iowa, not Ohio, but Iowa. Bishop, you bring a unique perspective to this because Iowa is the Midwest and perhaps a little more cloistered than the rest of the country. Perhaps absent as much diversity as some other places. When you hear comments like you heard from Madison Square Garden, how does that make you feel in the Midwest? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Bishop.
I feel like putting my finger down my throat and throw up. It
Uh,
makes me sick to my stomach. It's like where he says you're either hot or cold, and if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out. It really makes me very sick. I grew up in a very diverse area because and we are mulattoes. We're a mixture of everything, and we didn't see race like we see it now, but we knew who we were and we stood firm to what we believed. I went back to why it's so close. Filthy lucre, filthy lucre. Uh, I went to the book of Titus. It says, for there are many rebellious people full of meaningless talk and deception, especially those of the circumcision group. They must be silenced because they are disrupting the whole households by teaching things they ought not to teach, and that for the sake of dishonest gain. That's what I see, and it makes me just sick. We as a people have never. It's sad to say we have been distrustful, and we had all right to be distrustful because we have not been treated fairly. But we didn't have the hatred that I see now. We always had a heart to work together. But what I'm seeing now is it's just sickening. And to have a person running from the highest office in the country say the things that he says, and I wonder where is this origin? You know, and you're married to a woman that can't speak English very well. Where in the world? I just don't understand it. And you think you're really wrong, it's not. You know, and
Yeah, sounds like we're losing your audio, Bishop. Maybe it will kind of reset itself. Yeah, but it's very, very muffled. I'm gonna come back to you in just a minute. I'm gonna go to Pastor Scott. Pastor Scott, you and I both are here in New York. We are products of New York. I'm hearing an echo. So this took place, Pastor Scott, at Madison Square Garden, which is one of the most iconic venues in all of New York City. Now, we're not old enough to remember 1939, but because we are attached to history, we know that in 1939, on the threshold and the front doorstep of World War II, when Adolf Hitler was threatening the rest of Europe, he claimed there were 4 columns that made up Nazi Germany, 4 columns that made up Nazi Germany. Right. He claimed that he had a 5th column of Nazis, and they were in America, that he had allies in the United States. Now, this is before Pearl Harbor was bombed. This is before his attack on Czechoslovakia. This is 1939, and there were literally thousands of Nazis who showed up at Madison Square Garden to publicly pledge their allegiance to Adolf Hitler. Now, when we go back and review 1939 and that event in Madison Square Garden and compare what we saw this past weekend, is it just me, Pastor, or are we seeing some strong similarities between 1939 and 2024?
Well, Mr. Trump has kind of hinted toward the fact that he is a disciple, I guess we could say that, or a follower of Adolf Hitler. And I guess we might as well assume that he's just mimicking what he saw Adolf Hitler do. I believe that we're seeing that. Yes, I do. I think personally it was most despicable and definitely not intellectual at all. I mean, a true politician is going to be intellectual. And over again, he has proven that he's not a true politician. He has proven that over and over again. And he has pretty much declared that he wants to be a dictator. Just one more thing. We've all heard the old line, the old phrase, and I might have said this before, but I keep saying it. When we say words and we say things like sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt, that's a lie. I have to say it like that. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Because words hurt. And I don't know who the comedian's name was who said that on Sunday at the Garden.
Yeah.
But it was very clear to me that he does not have any care for anyone or anybody. I was hurt by it. I'm also hurt for those in the Hispanic culture. I have a Hispanic brother who is a part of my congregation. And I know he's hurting. he's hurting, and all of those others, they're hurting, all because of the fact that now our country, unfortunately, is showing its true colors.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Overseer Carr, I know that you both enjoy and prefer being one of the last voices that you hear because you absorb what so many others have said, and then you use that to fuel your own commentary. Pastor Scott mentioned this supposed comic who appeared on the stage at Madison Square Garden this past weekend. I was personally insulted, not only regarding his comments that he made about Puerto Ricans, and they were both vile and vulgar, but when he literally, watch this, pointed out a black man in the audience and stated that what he had on his head looked like a lampshade. And that because, watch this, beloved, that because we are so close to Halloween, he thought it was funny to say that he and the black man the previous night sat together carving out not pumpkins, but carving out watermelon. That is such a stereotypical insult to our community, and I'm anxious, Overseer, to hear your response to that sick and dark kind of humor that we're hearing in these last stages of this presidential election.
Okay, first of all, for me, I believe this comedian was vetted. He was chosen on purpose. It was intentional because it was more palatable for them and for the campaign for it to come from his mouth versus former President Trump's mouth. I don't think we are being deceived by what's being said because, as you all have said already, this is America. This is what people believe. This is what people feel. This is what, as they would say, they want to say, but really it's not politically correct to say. So when you put a comedian on the stage who is in a safe, quote unquote, place to have a joke about our different cultures, to have a joke about different people, to express ignorance. Ignorance without being without losing anything. He got paid to do that. Come on. And if it was not, even when something happens on a network, they will make an announcement to say this does not reflect the mindset of the network. Okay, they'll give an announcement to say this is not how we think, this is not how we feel, but here you go. Okay, and that's what Trump did. They got that man to do what he do. You know, when somebody comes to get me, I'm gonna do what I do, and you can't. There's an expectation you have of what I'm gonna do. You know, so you can't put lipstick on a pig and then say it's not a pig. You know, he was a pig before he got up on the stage because they knew what kind of joke, what kind of. My son does stand up. You know, they prepare their stuff in advance. They know what they're gonna say. People know what kind of comedian you are. We have Fudge, Rickenbacker's son. He's a Christian comic. We know what he's going to do. So they knew exactly who they were putting on the stage and what we were going to get. The thing here is, as I believe Bishop Willie said, we cannot be deceived by it because it's been what it has been all of these years. You know, by now we should be palatable to the ignorance of the the Caucasian people. And I'm not talking about all Caucasians. I'm just talking about those that are inclined to follow this type of ignorance. Yeah. You know, it's okay when we're sitting next to each other as co-workers, but when your heart, your core values are in agreement with this type of ignorance, you have to throw up some kind of caution. So I believe that we have to stay face forward, and not even hear and see. I won't say not react because words are offensive, as Reverend Scott said, but don't be distracted by it. Don't be distracted by it because that's what I wanted to say in the beginning. President Trump is a schoolyard bully. Okay, he is a schoolyard bully. And most of the time, when you find a schoolyard bully, they're covering up their own weaknesses,
And
their
insecurities.
own shortcomings, their own inability, and then they take it out on other people. Because when you sit the bully down and start to talk to the bully and find out who this bully is, there's a host of problems that come behind the bully. So Trump is a schoolyard bully that have gotten the gang to follow him, and he's always initiating a riot.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, beloved, one of the most effective, I want to say it this way, one of the most effective communicators that we have in our community is Michelle Obama. She does an extraordinary job in communicate, and she keeps it real. And I've got maybe about 6 minutes, and I want to kind of break it up into two parts. I want to play maybe 2.5 minutes of the first part of her comments, and then get some reaction and response from you, and then go back and listen to the remainder of that. And that's what we'll close out with today. But here is Michelle Obama commenting in a way that only Michelle Obama can do.
So let me take a minute to help folks, especially the men in our lives, to get a better sense of what could happen if we keep dismantling parts of our reproductive care system piece by piece, as Trump intends to do. I want folks to understand the chilling effect, not just on critical abortion care, but on the entirety of women's health, all of it. There are good reasons why so many women and physicians are horrified by what's happened since Donald Trump's justices overturned Roe v. Wade. We're seeing women scrambling across state lines to get the care they need. Just this week, a major medical journal reported that after Roe was overturned, infant mortality in this country rose, in large part because women are being forced to carry fetuses that won't survive to term. One woman spent 22 days in jail on murder charges after she miscarried in her own bathroom. We are seeing doctors unsure if they can treat ectopic pregnancies. Doctors being told they can't treat a woman until she becomes so close to death that only a life of the mother exception will allow them to act. So just imagine the profound effects for all of us if Donald Trump wins this election. In states that are already putting abortion bans into effect, his FDA could further outlaw patchwork systems of telehealth appointments and mail order pills, thereby eliminating the last remaining protections for women in those states. He could take actions that effectively ban abortion nationwide, which would put all of us in danger, no matter what state we live in. We will see more doctors hesitating or shying away from providing life-saving treatments because they are worried about being arrested. More medical students reconsidering even pursuing women's health at all. More OB/GYN clinics without enough doctors to meet demand closing their doors, leaving untold numbers of women in communities throughout this country without a place to go for basic gynecological care, which in turn will leave millions of us at risk of undiagnosed medical issues like cervical and uterine cancers. This is real. So do you think Donald Trump is thinking about the consequences for the millions of women who will be living in medical deserts? Does anyone think he has the emotional maturity and foresight to come up with a plan to protect us? Y'all, we are teetering on the edge. Even before these state bans, America was already lagging behind every other wealthy nation on measures like maternal mortality and paid leave. So we could be right back to the days before Roe, which many young people here don't even remember. The days when abortion wasn't as safe as it is today. The days when the number of mothers of color dying in childbirth was 30 to 40% higher than when it was under Roe. So to the men who love us, let me just try to paint a picture of what it will feel like if America, the wealthiest nation on earth, keeps revoking basic care from its women.
I'm going to pause right there and bring you all back because she goes then into a series of observations regarding the impact. Watch this, beloved, not on women, but on men. Bishop Willie, I want to kind of come back to you because last night we were part of an effort to explore why we don't vote. And we were gathered with men in particular, but young individuals where there seems to be some hesitancy and there seems to be some lack of passion and enthusiasm. Talk to us about what you're hearing Michelle Obama say, and why do you think it is that, at least what the media has suggested, that there have been inroads in the black community as it relates to young men and as it relates to young Hispanic men? What do you think, Bishop, is going on here?
So, she shared with us about don't be fooled what's being said. Because why it affects all of us, female and the male. And a woman has a right to choose, because if you are in a desperate situation, you don't know what you're going to do. So it's important that we, on the vote, behind the ballot, vote no, because why? It's imperative that we understand the danger of what's taking place, and people are not paying attention to what's being said out here. Our young people are not paying no attention to what's going on. They give them a lollipop, walking down the street, and that's it. That's why we are accountable to our young people to remind them, to teach them. Bishop, when we was young, we heard the older ones. The young ones don't hear us no more. They caught up in the hype of the day, and they being misled, distracted by other things, by the kids of this world. So therefore, they don't care until it happened to them, and it can be too late.
Wow. That's rich. That's rich.
Yeah,
Dr. Stratford, let me come to you ever so quickly, and then I'm going to bounce back to Overseer Seaman. There is an assumption that pro-choice means automatic abortion, when it does not. Pro-choice means that the individual gets to make the choice, and they still can make a choice not to have an abortion based upon their faith, based upon their spirituality, based upon their sense of morality and ethics. Why is there this misinformation that because you have a choice, and my understanding is that choice means that I might choose one way, but I don't have a right to impose my choice upon you, that you still reserve the right to choose whatever is appropriate for yourself. Can you help us kind of unpackage what has become a common misunderstanding?
I'll try. I think that it has happened because that's the message that the party wants to send. They want to make it seem as though if someone has the right to exercise their belief, whatever their choice is, that it will be a negative one. So, we have to protect the messages. We have to protect people from themselves because they're not capable of making the right choice. So we're only going to give them one choice. And in order to justify that, we have to program everyone to believe that we are doing the best thing for everyone that's involved.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go to Overseer Seaman, because you're partly in the medical field. So can you help us understand from a medical perspective how if you have a choice, you still have a choice not to or to proceed forward? And that pro-choice does not mean automatic abortion. It means that the individual has the right to choose what is best for themselves.
Wow. We, Bishop, live in a world, number one, where number one, people don't listen, where people go along with the get along. That's been for a while, but it's getting worse. People believe what they hear. What they hear is that's not true. If you do this, then you have to do that. People have come in and said to me, which is appalling in the sense, well, he didn't want the baby, so I'm not having it. But the bottom line is, Jesus himself, God himself said, choose this day whom you will serve. We have a right to choose. We have been given minds. The choice that we make can't be blamed on somebody else. If you have a gun and you choose to pull the trigger, you can't blame Johnny standing next to you who told you it's best for you to pull the trigger. You have to know for yourself that you want to. You have the desire, you have the will, and you have the ability with your finger or with whatever you choose to use, if your finger hurts, to pull that trigger and to take a life. Abortion, among many other subjects, is no different. It's a woman's right to make a choice. And quite frankly, I mean, if God gave us a choice, who are we to take those choices away from anybody? We don't have the right. From day one, we had a choice, and we still have a choice. Our problem is we're programmed to listen to everyone else, to listen to our feelings. We're programmed to hear all of the outside noises that come in our way. That enables us, it disables us actually from making a choice, but it also enables us to make a choice. Because if we truly listen to the verbiage around us and to the situational things that are there, we would be able better to make a right choice. But even if we make the wrong choice, Bishop, it's still our right. No one has the right to take that from us. I personally had a different, I don't believe in killing babies. But then again, I've worked with 12-year-olds who were raped and didn't know what was going on in their system. I've worked with mothers who watched the deformities in their children on screen and were told they could do nothing about it. I can't keep saying it's up to God. Why? Because God gave us a choice. And that's one of our choices. It's one of our inalienable rights. So I think we have the right to make that choice and understand that it has nothing to do with anyone but the person who makes the choice.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Overseer Carr, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to play the remainder of these comments from Michelle Obama because I think she does a brilliant job of helping men to see this issue from a male perspective. The assumption is that we need to see it from a female perspective and then align ourselves with the feminist perspective. But these next few minutes, her comments certainly reveal that there are some consequences from a male perspective that we need to consider as well. So let's take a look and let's take a listen to the remainder of what she has to say.
And how it will affect every single woman in your life. Your girlfriend could be the one in legal jeopardy if she needs a pill from out of state or overseas, or if she has to travel across state lines because the local clinic closed up. Your wife or mother could be the ones at higher risk of dying from undiagnosed cervical cancer because they have no access to regular gynecological care. Your daughter could be the one too terrified to call the doctor if she's bleeding during an unexpected pregnancy. Your niece could be the one miscarrying in her bathtub after the hospital turned her away. And this will not just affect women, it will affect you and your sons. The devastating consequences of teen pregnancy won't just be borne by young girls, but also by the young men who are the fathers. They too will have their dreams of going to college. Their entire future is totally upended by an unwanted pregnancy. If you and your partner are expecting a child, you will be right by her side at the checkups, terrified if her blood pressure is too high, or if there's an issue with the placenta, or if the ultrasound shows that the embryo was implanted in the wrong place, and the doctors aren't sure that they can intervene to keep the woman you love safe. If your wife is shivering and bleeding on the operating room table during a routine delivery gone bad, her pressure dropping as she loses more and more blood, or some unforeseen infection spreads and her doctors aren't sure if they can act, you will be the one praying that it's not too late. You will be the one pleading for somebody, anybody, to do something. And then there is the tragic but very real possibility that in the worst case scenario, you just might be the one holding flowers at the funeral. You might be the one left to raise your children alone. See, these are just some of the ways women die during childbirth. And I don't want to be a downer, y'all. But in many cases, there is no warning and things go bad very quickly. And when it happens, every second of hesitation or delay can lead to devastating outcomes. So I am asking y'all from the core of my being to take our lives seriously. Please, do not put our lives in the hands of politicians, mostly men, who have no clue or do not care about what we as women are going through, who don't fully grasp the broad-reaching health implications that their misguided policies will have on our health outcomes. The only people who have standing to make these decisions are women with the advice of their doctors. We are the ones with the knowledge and experience to know what we need. So please, please do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us. Because a vote for him is a vote against us, against our health, against our worth.
Whew. I tell you the truth. Wow. You know, I find myself getting almost emotional, Overseer, because she made it so plain, not from the female perspective, but this is how it impacts us. This is how it's going to impact men. You are so articulate and you have such an affinity and affection for women. When you listen to a Michelle Obama give this kind of description, Overseer, what does that do with you and what does that do for you?
First, I want to say, go, sister, go. She's letting us have it in an intellectual way, but it's simple enough for the kindergartner to get it. You know, my truth, Bishop, is what I hear in my spirit is, Pharaoh, let my people go. I hear, you know, that tell old Moses to go way down in Egypt land to tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. And I say that because as Vice President Kamala Harris keeps saying, we're not going back. And all of these things that Trump is trying to institutionalize in our society, again, is an act to take us back. And I have to be transparent in this moment, Bishop Lewter, that I had a tubal ligation pregnancy, you know, and it had to be terminated. So he's talking about me. Wow. And when I said I'll keep it, the doctors said, we don't recommend this because of the complications that will happen and could possibly happen. So there was a choice where I had to terminate that pregnancy. So I'm a product of what they're talking about. So it's firsthand for me. And if somebody else, if there was a law saying, I can't do this, then what? And the other thing I see is, as Michelle said, like our former First Lady Michelle has said, the domino effect that we're talking about here is real. You know, we're talking about teen pregnancy and whether or not the choice should be made by the parents, even so. You know, we're talking about the other thing I hear is women are already still, and I don't care how far we've come, we're still in a vulnerable state where we're still subject to rape and molestation.
Oh
It's
yeah.
still out there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's still real. We're still subject, watch this, and I'm going to step on somebody's toe. We're still subject to an abusive husband. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Because no is still no, whether I'm married or not. So we're still subject in so many different ways with our bodies that, you know, we can become pregnant and not have been a willing participant. Come on, somebody. You know, so these are things that Trump is using to take us back to a state of uncivilization that we cannot allow to happen. Unfortunately, like I said, being the schoolyard bully, he's got a group of people that want to go back to white supremacy. Come on, that's where they're really going, to a white supremacy where we're still on top and everybody else has been suppressed.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. Well, beloved, that takes up just about all of our time, but I want to go back to Bishop Willie, because Bishop Willie, as a man, hearing Michelle outline and describe the dilemma that this puts us in, not women, but the impact and the reaction and the response that, and the mantle, the responsibility that we would have to take up if the significant women in our lives were no more as a consequence of this kind of legal attitude. What did you hear and how did that make you feel, Bishop?
I think that she opened up our eyes as men to be educated. The danger was going to take place to a female.
Mm-hmm.
If we really love our women, our mother, our wife, our daughters, our aunts, we'll take heed to what she said and not let this happen. And I think that the message need to go out more, because what's happening, a lot of people are not hearing the message. They being, again, caught up. They get the earphones on, they don't hear nothing. You know,
Yeah.
so they not
Yeah.
hearing. So we got to keep on sound the alarm so they can really wake up and hear the message. This affects our females. And as a man, we should not let this affect our females. If we're a real man is not going to let the female suffer in no kind of way.
Wow, indeed.
Bishop Lewter, if I may, I was reading something, I was reading for this morning, and I was reminded that Nero, I'm just saying Nero, not Trump, but Nero, was so crazy that when he became emperor at 16, he died at 30, but he had his soldiers stab his biological mother in the womb to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm seeing.
Wow. Yeah. Dr. Stratford, we're going to give you the last word, because Beyonce, just about a week ago, stood on the stage in Houston and she said, I'm not here as a mother. She said, I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I am here as a mother. I know that you're a mother. So what kind of visceral reaction do you have when you hear Michelle Obama be so accurate and so descriptive in terms of what this means, not for women, but for the male figures in our society?
I rejoice. Am I muted? Okay.
No, we hear you. No.
I rejoice and thank you for this opportunity, because it is important for our men to understand this isn't just me losing a baby. This isn't just me having issues and you go about your day and bring me some chicken home on your way from work or whatever, but this is your child. And I need the emotional support I need to know that whatever decision is made, that you are involved in it, that I won't be blamed for losing your baby,
Ah,
that I won't be hated because the pregnancy had to be terminated in order to save my life. But understand that this can be more than a minor inconvenience for you. This could be life changing, and you could lose someone who is very dear to you. I thought it was a phenomenal strategy, and that it will cause the men to really look at the situation of family in this country, especially in our community, because the statistics are devastating, with how many absent fathers there are, and starting with the youngins, and going forward, and it's affecting everything. It's affecting everything. But I'm elated that Michelle Obama used that strategy to say, wait a minute, maybe if I help you to understand what is really happening, it will move you to protect me through your vote.
wow. Well, listen, friends, that takes up just about all of our time, and I certainly want to thank you for yours. I'm Andy C. Lewter, and for the last hour, I have been with Bishop Walter Willie, with Overseer Regina Carr, with Overseer Diane Seaman, with Dr. Stephanie Stratford. Bishop Helen Singster had to leave a little bit early, as did Pastor Norman Scott. We want to give a shout out to Bishop Jeffrey Bowens, who is celebrating 30 years of ministry at the Love Alive Fellowship Church in Buffalo. And he and his wife, it was his birthday this past weekend, and his wife has taken him to the city of Rome as a birthday gift. And they are well on their way to Europe, and we are wishing them well in that regard. So listen, beloved, until next time, do know that God loves you. We love you. We look forward to seeing you soon. Very, very quickly, let me share again. Overseer Diane Seaman is having a forgiveness luncheon this coming Saturday. And Bishop Willie tomorrow night at 9 o'clock is doing another follow-up event where we will continue to talk about this. Let me just pause very, very quickly for Overseer Seaman to give just a quick word about her event this coming Saturday.
Amen. Thank you so much, Bishop. And Bishop Lewter is one of my prime speakers. I love him. We all love him, and we give him glory. The forgiveness luncheon it's a testimonial luncheon. Those who will come and share what has been done to them. We've had rape shared. We've had abuse shared. We've had all kinds of situations shared. And not just that they share what happened, but how they dealt with it and were able to forgive it. And we integrate all kinds of things. And this week we have young, believe it or not, Bishop, hip-hop gospel rappers with us. They're 16-year-old twins. And I'm just delighted. We need to learn how to forgive. This year we're taking it to the streets. Just doing Jesus. We're going to JDJ, Just Do Jesus. And we're all going to wear our T-shirts, and we're taking it to the streets. So if you want to join us, call me, hit me up, let me know. The tickets are $125, and we'll be glad to have you. Thank you.
Great. Well, again, until next time, do know that God loves you, we love you, and we look forward to seeing you real soon.